I'm Nikita. I am the VP of sales at an organization called PartnerStack. We help companies launch and scale channel and partner programs across the board. Yeah, it's a really good question. I agree. I think that, you know, between 2023, I think H2 2023 was a tough one for everybody. I think across the board, layoffs were up. Purchasing power and buying power was down for a lot of organizations. So we've come a long way since 2023 for sure, but definitely, it hasn't necessarily been the kind of the ups of 2021 and probably early 2022. Um, so a lot of what we've tried to do to kind of help revenue attainment is we focused on the things that we can control, right? So part of those things have been, how do we make that customer buying experience easier by offering those trial accounts? So how do we put as much, in front of our customers early on as possible? How do we get very real about, quota coverage and attainment across our existing kind of salespeople? If that quota coverage is there, that's amazing. How do we continue to double down on, what's working? If it isn't, how do we, quickly pivot and understand, what is kind of going wrong and what isn't, right? So how do we get in front of those customers? Do we need to go from, email and outbound to kind of an event strategy, in the middle of the year because just people aren't doing or aren't, as responsive. And so we're trying to be really responsive there. And I think, one of the biggest things, I probably should have also, doubled down on this earlier is, we're also leaning into our own partner network. And so we have a lot of existing partners that we work with today that, have existing relationships with clients and with, a lot of trust that they've built over the years. And so the interesting thing is, being a partner platform, we also have our own partner program. And leaning into those partners has really kind of helped us accelerate from a kind of technology and innovation standpoint, but also from a customer acquisition standpoint, right? So going to market with our partners, whether they're technology or agency partners, has helped us expand our product in ways that we hadn't really anticipated we would expand it before. It's helped us, acquire customers both for ourselves and for the partners. And so that's been, really successful. And then it's also helped us, drive more value to that customer, right? So kind of bring two complementary tools together. If you do it in a really successful way, you can really kind of, supercharge the amount of success that your vendors and your customers see.
My name's Jeff Kirchick. I am the VP of Sales for Allwhere, which is an IT asset lifecycle management software company based in New York City, about 45-ish employees. And I've been working in software sales for about 15 years, which has been my career. I have been fortunate to be a part of multiple exits. Spent half my career at a Y Combinator company called Nextcaller, which was acquired by Pindrop Security a few years ago. I also wrote a book around that time called Authentic Selling: How to Use the Principles of Sales in Everyday Life, which I think accurately predicted the coming wave of artificial intelligence in the world of sales and how people would need to lean into a more authentic selling style in order to succeed. So that's a little bit about me. So in any business, you need to understand what are the bets you need to double down on and what are the new bets you need to make. In any business, I try to think of things in like three phases. I learned this from Mark Roberge, who's like this, former CRO of HubSpot and like the godfather of, all of the science of how you scale a business. I think about it, product market fit being really important, to understand if you have something that can scale. Go-to-market fit, which is where you get the unit economics that allow you to put more investment in, and then the scale phase. And in any business, if you're measuring, if you're doing a good job of measuring, your LTV against your CAC, so basically the long-term value of a customer, lifetime value against your acquisition cost, and you have the ratio of like 5 to 1 or greater, we should be investing more there. Like that means we should be adding resources, and that will help us, attain more revenue and so on and so forth. Same time, like we need to know what bets we need to place. In my business right now, I'm focusing a lot more on up market, moving us up the market to bigger customers, stickier types of customers. But the way that you do that is not by empirical observation. You do that through being data driven. And really, at this point, I think there's no excuse for sales leaders not to have some sort of conversational intelligence tool that gives them insight into what's going on in their conversations. In my business, we found out that I think about 20% of our conversations, the customers were asking for a geography that we did not service. And now we are going to start servicing that geography because it was very obvious. We could say, 1 in 5 customers would be interested in this. We know how big they are. There's even some new tools that people are probably not even very familiar with that can really distill a lot of this data for you and use AI to say, hey, based on all the calls you have, based on how much you charge, this is what your product team should be building. It's pretty crazy what's out there right now. Sales leaders really need to lean into this stuff. If you want to figure out like what you need to unlock with your product or operations teams, you want to build a business case, this is like served on a silver platter for you now. Like it's never been easier to be a sales leader in terms of advocating for unlocking growth opportunities within your business. The tools are all at your disposal. There's no excuse not to have them. So to me, that's what I'd be doing is some sort of conversational intelligence, aligning that with product and operations, making sure they're bought in. It's not really a sales tool, to be honest. It's really like a company-wide tool. And then leveraging the information to find out, hey, what is the customer asking us for that we need to be focusing on as a business where we can unlock growth?
My name is Kasey Devine. I've been in sales leadership, go-to-market leadership for the past 10 years. Done a lot of different things. A lot of my career has been in the SMB space, relatively vertical agnostic because I've bounced around from vertical to vertical. But really, my experience has been in the human resources, tech, and outsourcing services space. So you think about a company needs an idea that you pay money for, cash flow and equity, liquidity, and people. I've really been helping through it from a sales and sales leadership perspective to answer the people question. The two main focuses I've had to improve quota and revenue attainment. The first one has been leveraging technology, especially artificial intelligence, to be as efficient as possible before increasing headcount. That's been something that's really helpful. I think of increasing headcount very seriously. And you think about let's call it 2018 to 2022 grow at all costs model. That's just not the case. And from a human perspective, these sellers and the people that support them are not just numbers on a spreadsheet, in my opinion. These are real people that are putting their careers on the line to come help your organization. So as a leader, one of the things I've done is made sure that if we are going to market to hire somebody in this current market, it's necessary, and we are going to give them the tools they need to spend the majority of their days on revenue generating activity. And so that's the first thing, and that way we're being efficient and we're limiting the amount of variables that could get in the way of success. So that's the first thing. The second thing we're doing is we're focusing on banding together, winning through partnerships, whether that's being creative with industry associations or business to business, like vendor partnerships. You think about in general, the stats from Clari don't lie. There is a little bit of a downturn, especially in tech sales, startups and everything like that. If you panic during that, you're going to miss an interesting opportunity, because from an investing perspective, downturns are the best time to enter a market. And so from that perspective, in general, the average company isn't doing well or as well as they would like to be doing. I take the approach of saying, okay, if that's the case, you have something that's valuable to someone else though. And maybe let's leverage that in a new way to be able to create the feedback and value loop. And that's why I've been recommending doubling down on partnerships, even if you haven't before, even if you're primarily a product-led growth company or you're going outbound or something like that. It is worth finding even 2, 3, or 4 birds of a feather vendors that you really align with, that you can send bi-directional business to, because that might be some lifelines that you need and they need. And you think about like that can only be better because if the interest rate environment does improve and we do go back to the more grow at all costs model, well, now you're doing that even faster because you have friends.
Excited to be here today. So yeah, I am Matt Wood. I've spent about a decade in SaaS, really helping scale revenue growth across multiple organizations and DevOps, cybersecurity, and data observability, specifically all the way from sub 1 million upwards of 100 million plus, resulting in 4 successful mergers or acquisitions. Yeah, I mean, we're just really doubling down on data-driven forecasting and pipeline management. So any kind of data that we can analyze and inspect to see where are things potentially leaking, making sure that we're looking at risks very early on. But I think a lot of people also focus on the what behind process and opportunities, and oftentimes miss the who, which is who's in the seat, how dialed in is your interview process? Do you really know what your ideal rep profile is? Because oftentimes you can fix, revenue leak or challenges with not hitting targets by looking at who is actually in the seat selling. I think that's really important to dive in and diagnose and make sure that you are very, very, very rigorous about who you hire and why you hire them.